The most fascinating thing about my guest today is for the past 5 to 7 years, he's been one of the 3 to 5 men, sometimes the only man in the room amidst hundreds and hundreds of women unlearning, shedding, crying, constantly being in the knowledge and understanding that helps in the pursuit of living a well-meaning life. It talks about his childhood. It talks about the Biafra War. It talks about what the genuine love of a good woman feels and looks like for him. It talks about what he's like when he's in love. It talks about how men are dying in silence and the things that are damaging men, but they are never able to speak up. It talks about how the death of his father-in-law motivated him to start his tech company, Akukom, which is the intersection between tech and media. This company helps preserve family histories and stories. It talks about what he would love for his children to know about him when they're grown and wiser. He's had a decade-long career as a transmission core specialist with MTN Nigeria to being the founder of Cinematics. Cinematics is known for filming stories, destination weddings, amazing. The largest weddings in Nigeria has been filmed by Cinematics. The 360-degree booth was first brought in by Cinematics in the whole of Africa. He's been a founder of Destination Weddings Africa, Akukom, and Timeline Africa, which are all dedicated to preserving African legacies, documenting cultures, and revolutionizing storytelling through film and innovative platforms. Nnanna Adam is a visionary African tech founder, creative director, and life documentarian who is passionate about preserving the stories that matter. With over a decade of experience in family documentary and storytelling, he has dedicated his career and is capturing authentic moments that connects generations and build lasting legacies. This interview gives a unique perspective into the core of who he is as a father, as a leader, as a visionary, as a life coach, as a public speaker, as a mentor, and of course, an exceptional cinematographer is committed to constantly inspiring other people live their authentic lives and embrace the power of narratives and vulnerability. One thing that I adore about him is the multifaceted human he is in his different skills, his different works, his different companies, and how the core of who he is still shows and shines amongst it all. It talks about how it transitioned from the different journeys of his career, of his profession into being a founder. Nana's human experience story is one to watch and I hope you enjoy it because I did. I really did enjoy it. And we made Pinky promises of the things he needed to do before he comes back on the show again. Because he's coming back for 3 more shows. Because he needs to be able to do some things and he could talk about it even better in the next ones. Enjoy it.
How have you been feeling lately?
So lately, I've been feeling a bit overwhelmed and a bit highly engaged because I have a lot of things going on at the same time. So it's like you have an expectations of where you're supposed to be, and you know that you're not there yet. All right, you expect a lot of things to fall in place that are not falling in place yet. So that has been the feeling so much so lately,
Okay.
and I think it's a good thing because it's a gateway to know that you still have something to work on compared to when I'm like in the vacation mode or so relaxed. I don't know.
Which do you prefer? Being in vacation, relaxed, or being overwhelmed?
Funny enough, for most part of my life, I can remember I've always been overwhelmed. So the vacation mode comes in trickles, and vacations are like unconditional vacations, like when you just have to take vacations when you don't, I really don't plan it,
Yeah.
but it's something I know I should do,
Mm.
you know. So most of the vacation trips I've gone for, a vacation off a project I've worked on, you know, and I'll continue
So
the vacation.
they're not primary vacations.
They're not primary vacations, yeah.
Why though? Why is it like your force of habit is to enjoy being overwhelmed with work and activities as opposed to being still and enjoying being?
So I think so because of the mindset I've been brought up by over time. I'm the first son in my family. My father is also the only son in his family, in his generation, right? And I'm the first son in my entire family. So I've always had this responsibility shoulder that I need to take care of everybody and myself.
Yeah.
And now that I have my own family as well, so it's not even any easier. So I've always been the go-getting, hardworking kind of person instead of the relaxing and relaxing kind of person, you know. So it's a mindset I know that is not right because as you move in age, you really have to make out time for family and make out time for your health and the rest of them. But until we get there, I mean,
is there ever going to be a time that that journey ends? Because what I hear you say is, I know what to do. I just do not want to do it because of the mindset, the programming, and the heavy responsibility that I have. I have two subset questions, which is why? You know what to do, but you don't want to do it because of all the responsibility, the mindset, the programming that says this is how your life should be as a man. Then the second question is, when you are being responsible for everybody, who's responsible for you? So Nnanna Adim is a responsible father, a responsible husband, a responsible brother, a responsible son, or it's the one that everyone goes to. So who's Nnanna to Nnanna at the end of the day?
For the better part of my life, again, I've always been a behind the scene person. When I was in telecoms, right? If I can piggyback to when I was in telecoms, when I used to go for training and workshop across different locations, if we go for a training and we're taking pictures, I'm always the one behind the camera taking the pictures. I'm always trying to make sure that everybody will get really, really good pictures. And at the detriment of me being in the picture, you know. For some reason, I mean, that was also an indication on what I was supposed to do with the next level of my life because I transitioned from telecoms to media production. So that experience and all other experiences in my life had made me realize that I'm always trying to give than receive. And I'm happy actually doing it. So it's the core of me will be really fulfilled if I'm able to give out everything that I have and not even retain anything, because I actually believe at the end of the day, we are not leaving this planet with a lot more. So if I can put a lot more smiles to people's faces with the little I can and I have, and I should be able to do that. And at times at the detriment of my own peace and my own happiness and my own safety at times. That's a concern and that's a challenge that I struggle with and I keep struggling with because I still don't have the balance yet, you know, and until I get there.
Do you ever think you'll get there at the rate at which you're going?
I think I can. Because it will require conscious effort to build systems that can replace all the things I can do personally. So once I have systems around everything I do personally, then I should be able to step back and watch things run by themselves. Then I should have time for myself.
Okay. We'll have a part 2 of this conversation next year. And we want to hear differently that the systems are now in place and you are now calmer and having time to yourself and all of that.
True.
Thank you, promise. Okay, so the second aspect of the question, who are you to you in the midst of all this craziness and responsibility? Because I'm also a first African daughter. I can relate, but you're a man. And with a man comes a whole different, in my opinion, higher responsibility. With a woman, you can still be feminine and still like be chilling and all of that. But for you, it's different. So in the midst of all of that, who are you to you?
I'm a subtotal of my belief systems. Most of what I am and who I am is based on what I believe in and what I've been, told and what I've experienced as well. So starting with my name is Nnanna. Nnanna means father's father. So like Babatunde in Yoruba.
Yeah.
So unconsciously, I'm taking the cloak of fatherhood, and that comes with the responsibilities, even as a child. So by design and by default and by naming, I'm already programmed to take care of people, take care of family, to be there, to nurture, to help, to guide, to provide support, anything that I can. So to an extent, that is still me, because I've come to love it. I've come to embrace
Acceptance.
it. I've come to accept it. So I wouldn't want it anyways as well, any other ways, right? It's just that I need to find a way to balance that with also taking care of myself, taking care of others, and also taking care of myself and doing the things I would want to do for me and not just for others.
Every other person.
Yes.
So what I hear you say is that I'm still this for everyone, and I was programmed, and everything has made me this person, and I've come to acceptance of it, which is a good thing. And I heard you say, I still need to find who I am to me in the midst of it. So you're coming for part 3. Because you really didn't answer the question. You answered it, but in a way of, look, I'm still finding this out myself. Yeah? Okay, that's fine. I like that you said this cloak of programming of being a father's father figure, even as a child, even all of this. And my next question is, if this entirety of your life isn't what it is, if you were maybe to start again, I like that you've come into acceptance of it, but if you were living the truest expression of yourself, because I had a friend that I spoke to a couple of months ago, and I was asking, like, as a man, what is the thing he wants the most? And I just randomly asked my male friends, and what the average answer has been like, the truest expression of my emotions. And I felt sad because I really don't think that men are taught how to truly express themselves, which can be quite damaging. So my question to you is, if you were living the truest expression of yourself, the expression that maybe your 5-year-old or 7-year-old self had probably thought about before all the beliefs, the programming, the conditioning happened, what does it really look like?
A life of adventure, simply put. I so much believe and I so much love adventure. I like traveling, I like discovering new things, I like sightseeing. And perhaps I think that's the reason why, even in cinematography, I fell in love with wedding cinematography, more importantly, destination wedding cinematography, so that I can travel across. So you just masqueraded. So with that, I've been able to travel across different countries and continents, shooting weddings and then capturing cultures, capturing their food and all that. So I love adventures. And if I wasn't doing anything, if I wasn't doing anything for money, or if I wasn't doing anything else, just to adventure around the world and find new things.
Got it.
And I'm fine.
Got it. Would you say that you've done that to a very good extent outside of masquerading it with your work?
I haven't. For now, it's just, be masqueraded with the work. So it's something that I need to intentionally make out time for it.
Got it. How do you separate your ego from your soul or from your heart, for lack of a better word? Like when you have like a decision you need to make, or you're acting out your daily life. And I say this because everyone has ego, both male and female. And ego is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something, it means that protects us from, damaging our self-identity or extended identity. So how do you separate it? How do you separate what your ego is saying versus what your heart is saying? And what is the context that makes you lean into one over the other?
I'm not so into yoga and all of that spiritual experience, but in my mind as well, I practice a lot of out of body experiences.
Okay.
So moments like that, in split seconds, if I will make a decision about that has to do with a hard decision or an ego decision, or even words, that has to do with a hard decision or an ego decision, I get to practice that to step outside myself and then to look at the options, how it affects the other party.
Got it.
I try to do it unconsciously, so I look at the options, and most times I usually will go for the heart decisions and the heart engagement because that's what I always lean towards, and that has been working for me, even against what I really would want to do or what is not,
what the ego really wants to do.
Yeah,
Got it.
Wants to do, yes.
Got it. I like that you said that, because I think that's something I recently started to practice, where I take myself out of myself for a fuller picture. So especially when I'm going through like a hard time or going through like negative emotions, before I would usually just sit in it and be upset and be angry. But now, say like a couple of months ago, I take myself out of myself to see myself and see the full picture, to say, is this where it ends? No. Is this what I'm supposed to do with how I'm feeling right now? Yes or no? And then, is there something coming that is better? Absolutely. So I realized that I have to stop making decisions based on my current emotions, especially like ego-driven emotions, and then look at the fuller picture to say, okay, peace be still. Peace be still. There is a whole lot more that is yet to come and that is happening that you're not seeing, because sometimes the truth is not in the appearance of what you're currently seeing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how did you come about it? Because I don't even know how I came about it. I just realized that one time I had to find a way to stop letting my ego win. So how did you come about it?
So I'm always trying to weigh things very well before I say it and I do it. And I know by default, even as a child, by default, anybody would be inclined towards ego, because it makes you look good, makes you feel good, makes you outstanding.
Massages it.
Yeah. It's about the image. But on the other hand, making decisions and actions through the heart is always better.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. What is your faith like these days? And is it the same that it used to be like when you were maybe younger, or maybe like a couple of years ago? Is there anything that has changed, and what has been the result of that change? And I ask you this because we actually have the same coach, and we know, I would say we have a different understanding as to the different context of faith, so to speak. And for me, that has helped me to be more open-minded. That has helped me to know that all that I know is not all there is to know, especially about God, and be accepting of other faith context that isn't mine, because the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. So what has that been like for you, having your context of faith and how it has morphed or grown or depleted or been in stagnancy rather? So yes.
So growing up, I grew up in a Catholic family. So if you know a regular Catholic family, there will always be family prayers that are always mandatory. You get dragged out of sleep to come and sing and pray, praises and worship.
I think all Nigerians grew up in the same home, whether it's Catholic or not.
You must learn the song, you must sing, praise Allah, oh, sing God. It was fun and it was an experience, really.
Yeah.
So growing up and now living by myself, I was able to find God for myself. So I moved from the Catholic system to the Pentecostal system. I became a born again at some point. And I became closer to God. That actually started working for God. So my faith is connected with works, because I believe to a large extent that there's a scripture that says that if you walk in his vineyard, he will walk in yours. So as long as I can remember, in any city that I am, like when I moved from Enugu to Port Harcourt to Asaba to Lagos, then outside, I've always been involved in the church thing. And guess what? It's a media team. It has to be the media team, because that's what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And then it's giving back, and it's part of my faith work. So I've always been involved in this vineyard. But again, now, to the later days, I've come to realize that, because now that I'm based in the UK and I've traveled around the world, different experiences at different times.
I like where this is going.
I've come to realize that it is not everything we pray for we should be praying for. It is not the amount and the time that we spend praying that determines if the person's prayers will be answered. So, a lot of conditioning by Christianity and faith, I'm trying to recondition my mind around it. Because, even we know that Christianity was brought to Africa by the white. Now you look at the white, they're not that religious, and they get things done, and they still have a relationship with God. They don't spend that much. I'm like, hey guys, come on, like seriously.
I know the feeling because I also live in the UK, and I'm like, wait, it doesn't make sense. It's either God is lying to us, or we're serving a different God.
Yes,
something doesn't make sense.
Yes, and it's so obvious that some things God has given us power to do, just fix it. You don't have to pray about it. I actually argue a lot with a couple of really close friends of mine that it's not everything you need to pray for. Like, I've heard one time TDJ talking about faith and works, that there's some things that you don't need to pray for. If you are in a burning room, you see fire, you see smoke, you see door, you run. It's not time to ask God if it's His will you should live, escape. So, likewise, a lot of things we pray for in Africa and Nigeria is not things we should be praying for. It's things that we should work towards, because it's giving us the strength and power to do all that. So my faith is evolving. A lot of things we know, a lot of things we are told. Oh, come on. Oh, come on now. Oh, come on. And it's like as if you're challenging the institutions, they're challenging, like as if you're challenging God, but it's not. They've made it, to be bigger than what it is. It's just having a proper relationship with God that really, really matters. And I've come to realize that even in my work with God and in my work for God, which is working in His vineyard, working in churches and all that, there was a time I was working out when I was working in telecoms. Okay, so I was running shift. So it's only the days I'm available that I have to put in work with the team.
Okay.
And that was understood. And that was accepted. As compared to the fact that if you don't appear in church every Sunday,
be criticized.
You're no longer Christian enough. If you don't attend midweek services, you're no longer Christian enough. What if you're a doctor and you have to be in the theater? So there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do with our mindset.
I feel like if we start this conversation, it will take over the entire. So I'm just gonna hold my chest and say, no, don't drag me to this conversation, Nnanna. Okay, that's a very good answer. Thank you. So I want to speak on Akukom. I got the pronunciation well.
Yes.
And I'm very fascinated about multifaceted people. I think I'm even more fascinated about people who stay with one thing for a period of time before they go to the next and then the next. However, you still see the core part of them in the different things they go to. And it fascinates me because I'm not like that. I'm not like that at all. And for me, this is what my heart is saying to do now. And it's what I want to do. And it's worked for me. It's worked amazingly well for me. But there is the extremes. I think what's something that I've learned in the past year is balance. There is the extreme of good and there is the extreme of bad. There's the law of good and there's the law of evil. What we need as humans is balance. For people who just stays with one thing for the rest of their life or for the entirety of their life, I love it for them. But sometimes I question, do you ever think to explore the different parts of you in other contexts? And for you, who I believe you found amazing balance to know how to stay in it for as long as you need to and shift into differently while still carrying along that. Tell me what that dance and transition is like from telecoms to media to healthcare. I would love to hear your experience of staying with one thing until it is time to move, how you do the moving and how you take what is in the previous to the current, and then just how you do it all.
So for me, the core of what I do is about impact. So I try as much as possible to see that I'm able to create opportunities for impact or make impact myself by what I do directly over time. So like I started with telecoms, and then I stayed there for 12 years. I was in telecoms and I did.
What company?
I was in MTN for 12 years. Okay. So I was a transmission call planning engineer. I was in the East. Years. I was in the East, and then I got transferred to Asaba. I was in Port Harcourt, then Asaba, then Lagos. So there in Lagos, I was handling like the entire call planning for all the transmission call systems in the whole of the East. Staying in MTN taught me systems and processes, and staying power to get things done, and then ability to start and finish a project. Because at any point in time, there's always a new project being executed, about to start, or a project finishing. And the ability to work on multiple projects at the same time. Like you're building a new base station here, you're installing a radio here, you're doing testing, different things happening at the same time, being able to manage all of that at the same time. So that was quite interesting for me. And then the concept of line of sight in telecom. So there's this concept of line of sight. If two radio stations need to talk to themselves, they need to be in positions where there'll be a line of sight. So that radio frequency can move from this antenna to the other antenna. Exactly. So I've always had that mindset in me. That also connected with my media mindset, because you need line of sight from the subject you're trying to capture to the camera that's definitely getting the captures. Right? You need that line of sight to be able to get really good content. So telecom was really interesting. But I've also known that I've always been interested in what happens behind the scene in cameras, right? I've always been adventurous. That's part of the adventure. So I'll tell you a story. My mother still tells me till tomorrow. When I was like 7 or 5 years old, we're in the sitting room watching TV, jejely, and then all of a sudden NEPA took light. I started screaming that for them to bring the lantern, I can't see the TV. Bring the lantern, I can't see the TV. Because I was so fixated on what was happening on the screen. And anytime I'm looking at the screen, I'm also thinking about what's happening behind the scene. Behind the screen, I'm always thinking of how. So in recent years, doing like, you can't even watch a movie with me, you'll be tired, because I want to rewind a particular move over and over to figure out how they got that shot, what camera angle, the line of sight for this camera, the angle. Like, I'm always thinking outside
what is currently happening.
Yes. Got it. So when I found the opportunity to practice media, I eased into it. So it wasn't hard struggle. It wasn't a struggle. So I joined the media team in churches, started working, and then I set up, after my master's, I set up a cinematics media company, and I was running that with. No. Hold on.
You can't just drop it now. And you started cinematics. Okay, we're gonna move on now. You can't just drop it and just like, oh, that's because no. Like, that is like the largest media company in Nigeria. What is this?
It's just cinematics. It's just media, Because we started that 360 video booth experience.
Yes.
All of Africa.
Yes. It's amazing. I love it.
So that was a smooth transition from telecoms to media. So I've been doing media for a while, and it's been interesting and exciting. I've been able to also express myself within this space. Now in media, apart from doing wedding and destination wedding for adventures, and then the TV series, production of TV series and films, I've been more drawn recently to document life stories, because that is where the core of me is.
I love it.
So I've been able to start documenting life stories. Yeah, because I believe it should be the best content with the most impact.
I agree.
That we should produce.
I agree. Yes. So I have a question regarding that. And the question is, I write a lot. Whenever I have to move houses or move countries or move vicinity, the only thing I want to take along with me are my journals. It's why I had to get an iPad at some point because I'm having too much. I'm having too much. And I think one of the things that I'm very passionate about, the reason I write is because I want my children to be able to go back and read my life story when I was going through certain things, how it could help them. And the reason I'm very vulnerable with my writing, especially, is because of the fact that I really want them to see the nuances of life from a different lens. I want them to see that I gave myself permission to be successful, to fail, to be good, to be bad, to make my mistakes, and how I navigated it, and how, my life has just been in the most amazing and the most agonizing way. It's not all going to be perfect. And that makes me happy. I don't even have kids yet, but I'm super excited for when I do, because I know that I have had volumes and volumes and volumes of the different seasons of my life for them to maybe go through. If they want to, no pressure, but they better do. And when he told me about Akukom, I'm like, that's amazing. That is amazing, because sometimes with my parents or with my guardians, I judge from what I see in the moment, but I don't ever know the story behind what I see or years before and what has led them up until this point and how they've navigated their life. I feel like sometimes I have to make those assumptions in my head so that I can understand where they're coming from and see their story from their lens, not from my lens alone. So when you told me about Akukom, it was something that I really loved. Tell me what drove you to that.
The reason for starting Akukom, it's quite personal and quite, dear to me. My father-in-law has a hospital in Port Harcourt. He's a senior surgeon, so he does surgeries, and he was a very good guy. He's a philanthropist as well. So he could just be driving on the road and he will see somebody who's got like goiter or something, and he will just stop. Do you want to take it out? Take it to the theater and just cut it out without paying a dime. His church then, Anglican Church, had the vicar and a whole lot of the families on health check.
Oh wow!
Completely free, So he was doing quite a lot of work. And his life story was also really, really interesting. He grew up as an orphan, and he studied and worked very hard and managed to travel abroad to go and study medicine. Finally came back as a senior surgeon, right? As a filmmaker, as a cinematographer, I've been saying I was going to go and tell a story. I was looking for the right time to sit down with him, document his life stories, and then document him, doing one or two, sessions, sessions in the theater. And then suddenly, January 2020, he took ill and died. So I've never been able to still get over it. Jonathan, being a filmmaker as myself and someone that is also close to me, I wasn't able to tell and document his stories. And I really feel bad because I was busy with projects that are maybe like, it was during, January, so it was December period, it was basically
it's
year
crazy,
parties and corporate events and all that, which they all would have forgotten what happened in those events. But the most and the very important content, I wasn't able to do that. So that got me in a space where I wouldn't want others to feel the same way. Because my kids are still very small. Then they were like 5. They were 5 and 3. The third one hadn't even come yet. So they don't know their father-in-law, their grandfather. They don't know their grandfather very well. So if they have the stories well documented, it's something that they can actually watch over and over again. Older, So I actually had to slow down on any other kind of production I was doing. And I started doing more of family documentaries, more of life documentaries. And because they're private projects, you don't get to them on social media, right?
Yeah, got it.
Because it's definitely for the family, it's for the kids. So We even do the premiere whereby families will sit down to watch the stories with their children and their grandchildren, and it's always fantastic. Like a lot of emotions. I cry watching people cry, watching their movies, because it's really, really impactful. Really, really impactful. You know, so I now started thinking, how can I use tech to expand
enhance
this? Because there's so many families I can reach. There's so much team I can build across different countries or different locations, right? So that's where the idea of Akukom came about. Akukom means my story in Igbo language. Simply means my story. So it's about documenting family stories from generation past till date and continuously.
Got it.
So that the journaling we regularly do, the journaling on the tapes, the old audio recording or writing down, to actually have video recording.
There is more stories. Emotional impact.
Exactly. You can feel the emotion and the tone of voice that they're using to deliver their story and all that. So that's where we are now. And it's been interesting because it's something that I know every other family that really value their family culture, their legacy, their heritage, and the love and the bond they have as a family. It's something that families would want to,
inculcate,
yes, create for themselves, yes.
In all of this, are you documenting your story?
So I haven't started documenting my story.
There we go.
And I think I have a lot of time, God willing. But I started documenting my dad's story. So I sat with my dad, sat with my mom different times and documented their life stories. I scanned all the old family pictures. I even saw pictures, like, so when I was in, I saw pictures of me when I was like 12, like a toddler, like a baby, like it's me. I'm like, whoa, like how time flies, Yes. And then a couple of pictures of me growing up as well. Back in the days, our parents used to keep family albums. It's not that we have a lot of digital pictures everywhere and they're all scattered all around the globe. Exactly. That's what Akukom help people do. If you have pictures on Google Drive or different hard drives and different platforms, you'll be able to get everything together in one place. You know that this is your domain where all your family and personal stories are captured. So I've been able to document my dad's story, and the stories are amazing.
They definitely will be.
Talking to him, I didn't know.
That's what I was saying about, like, you don't know what you don't know until you see from their land. Yeah.
And I said, dude, my dad.
Go ahead, I'm your dude.
I said, he's also an engineer as well, electrical electronics engineer. Back in the days, during the Biafra War, that's a civil war that happened in Nigeria so many years ago. He worked as an engineer in the Biafran time. So then, because the Nigerian army were fighting the Biafran army, and anywhere there's a base station, they'll bomb and destroy it. Anywhere there's a base station, they'll just take it down with helicopters and stuff. They created something very ingenious. Like, I'm still wondering how they were able to pull it off then. Still line of sight I was talking about earlier. 2 palm trees in the bush. They'll climb up on the palm tree and tie a wire that the other one, an antenna, to the other palm tree, and now drop another wire from the middle down, bury it in the ground, and run it through a small hideout. That is where they will be broadcasting media content for the Biafra people. Palm trees, that was the antenna, which represent the base stations and the marks that you see all around in cities now.
Wow.
He told me how they did it. I never knew such thing was possible.
The world is constantly expanding because now it's like there's a lot of technology to do that, and it has always been in a force of nature to even have that in itself.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
That was so amazing. And his growing up days when he was a young person, how he had to struggle to survive, how he had to follow his father, my grandfather, who is his father, who was a farmer and a palm wine tapper. So my father learned how to tap wine. Learned how to build thatch houses, thatch roof, and thatch bed, like all the experiences that imagine if we had videos of these things.
To make, because those things are like very gone. They're going so rapidly.
They're going to, but they're going to be classics. If you had
definitely
those roofs and videos of him making the mats and all that, they're so classic. So that's why I tried that all those of us that are here now, what are we doing to secure what we're doing now for the next 50 years?
Yeah.
That's what Akukom is trying to do. So that what we're doing, like daily activities, that you think they're mundane things, they're not really that important. They are. Yeah. Because you blink and you turn back,
it's all gone.
It's all gone.
It's all gone.
You know? So if we can document these things and preserve them well, 20 years, 50 years from now, we should be able to look at that and be proud of what we documented now. That
is so beautiful. But I'm still wondering why you're not doing yours yet. Because you just preach it to everybody and give it to everybody, and we've not seen yours.
Again, that's so me, right? I'm just hoping to make sure that everybody's fine.
Yeah.
And not think about myself. But I've thought about it and I think I should. What I've done up until now is to scan my own personal pictures. So all my NYC pictures, my childhood pictures that I took, like, all my different work experiences, I've been able to scan all of them. So I have a couple of drives, both local drives and hard drives, and online drives that actually document, put all of them together. So it's easier to now create a documentary around your life. If you have some, we call them B-rolls, if you have some content to add
to them.
Yes.
Got it.
To support the story.
If a family or anyone who is very, very keen or has like family history and family legacy as a value, how do they reach out to Akukom and want to be a part of it? What's the best way to be able to get on this?
How people can reach us is to go to our URL, which is useakukom.com. Use Akukom. Akukom is AKUKOM.
AKUKOM.
Akukom.com.
Got it.
So
I love it.
And we have people who also would guide you on how to use it and how to start documenting family stories. So that when you want to feel like this festive period, usually that's when
people are around.
A lot of reunions happening. So content like that shouldn't just end on the phone. You have a platform where you can create really good experiences. Yes. Awesome. And there's some exciting opportunities and exciting games and stuff that people can actually, play and create content about. Yeah. I
think it's phenomenal. Well done on the work you do. I love how you constantly move into different things, but still has the same core. I find it very amazing.
Thank you. I try to find different expressions, but still holding on to the values.
Yes.
Right. So I'm not of the type that would want to invest and diversify in things that are not just me. So I try to do things that I personally connect with, things I resonate with. So that would even help. If there are ups and downs, you should be able to manage it because you're so deeply connected to that. Yes.
Got it. I have seen your work in different facets, in conferences, in wedding, in live shows. Give me a glimpse of your mind on how you start a project and how you want it to end and how it comes out. I want you to treat me like you're holding the child by the hand and showing the child the different rooms in your mansion, like in your mind.
Okay, so for me, I usually would start with the end in mind, right? I usually would want to find out what the customer, what the client want to experience. And that I will now piggyback to the beginning. And then we'll now start the process of how to achieve that end. Now, in the process of production, be it wedding or live documentary or anything at all, as long as it's a project that has to do with media production, first we're looking at doing recce to have a sit down and a consultation with the client or with the group to find exactly what they want. And then with that recce, we'll come up with a production plan. So with that recce, I'll get to know, okay, this is what is needed, both technical, both human resource that is needed, both logistics that we required to make it possible to get this done, and timelines as well. So the production plan would include timelines and deliverables. And with that, we now get into planning to get the production done with mind of what we intend to achieve at the end. If it's something that is very emotional, if it's something that's very exciting, if it's something that's very documentary style, that will determine what tools we're using to produce. That will determine what song we're going to use in post-production, to lace all the content. So after there's a pre-production, there's a production, there's a post-production, where you can now put everything together to make it make sense. Yes.
I love it. I love the different nuances of things that comes together into it, especially when the song is in complete alignment with the scene. Oh, I think that's always chef's kiss. I think that's always chef's kiss. Thank you. I want to ask this question for people who, because you said you were in telecoms for 12 years, and I'm sure you were successful at it. I'm certain you were successful at it. What is your advice for anyone who is multi-talented or want to do different things, but they're stuck with their idea and mentality of just being in one place, especially when they're successful at it, but they really want to explore something from their heart that, they have to start from ground up. The entire craziness that starts with starting something new when you're already successful or already at peak here. What would be your life advice to someone like that?
So anyone that is struggling, and I know a lot of people that struggle, because most people that struggle are those who are really multi-talented. So you're struggling to express yourself or struggling to diversify and do other things. Anyone that's struggling at some point, I would suggest that they stay on one thing until they're good at it,
Right.
until they are able to also make money from it, right? So it's not just you have to have a living.
Yeah.
If you have a family, you have to take care of family, you have to take care of yourself and other people.
Yeah.
So that one thing should be able to sustain you and all the other things that all the people around you, right? Then move to the next thing. So I can't advise how long it should take to stay on because what people get involved in are different.
Got it.
Yeah. You shouldn't wait until all the dots are, spotted on and then everything is put in place. You just have to run with the next thing.
Got it.
And the line will fall in place somewhere as you go.
Yeah. The law of movement.
Yes.
Yeah. Got it. Awesome. Thank you. I've known you for roughly 7 years. Yeah, 5 years. Yeah. And the context in which I know you is funny. It's beautiful, but it's funny because you've been and you got an award recently out of your many awards. But I think that's one of the most beautiful awards because the award is acknowledging you as a man who has stood in the midst of many women learning for years and years and years. And it's completely opposite to what the world knows that men do. Women are the ones who wants to learn to do differently, who wants to go to therapy, who wants to be in community, who wants to change, who wants to do this. And over and over, year in, year out, cause in, cause out, you've been the standalone man amidst hundreds of women. Why?
So I don't see a gender difference in learning in the same space with women or the other way, maybe learning in a space where there are a lot of men. I'm more about the core of the message about what I'm supposed to take out from there. Yeah. And it happens to be an environment, a domain that, is mostly populated with women. Yeah. So I think I'm really comfortable to a fault. Like some of the sessions I've had to cry. Right? And it's sad. Oh, come on.
It's not sad. There's nothing sad about it.
I wouldn't say it's sad, but it's not manly, right?
According to the world.
Yeah, I know. But yes, so men do cry. Of course. Men do cry because we have emotions as well. It's just that we are better at masking and suppressing emotions than expressing ourselves compared to the female gender.
Yeah. I love it. Do you think you would have gotten this far without being coached or guided or mentored or being in therapy? Because you could be doing it constantly with a group of men, which I'm sure you are, but the fact that you still give yourself the permission, the allowance and acceptance to still be in the room with women, what do you think that has shifted inside of you?
A lot have shifted inside of me, a whole lot. Up until recently that I'm even planning to also start talking to men to get into this headspace where we can allow ourselves to be a lot more vulnerable, especially in the company of women. And I know from experience and from research and from the societal knowledge, we're not designed or we feel we're not wired that way. But because we're suppressing it, even in the families. So there are couples that have gender-based tasks. And men always want to, keep it like that, right? Just a few couples have gotten to that level and understanding where it shouldn't be
no
that way. There's no
disparity.
disparity. You know, anybody can do anything and to be able to take care of the funds for the house together as one. So I'm comfortable in this space. I'm comfortable working with a lot of women because I learn a lot. And I learn also from all these women how to relate with the women that are also in my life, my friends, my family as well. You know, I learn a lot from all the women. It's something that I'm looking at also teaching and encouraging men to also get to this headspace.
Yeah. When are you launching it?
So 2025 is a good year.
Okay.
Is it a leap year? But it's a good year. So I know I have to start up a lot of things in 2025.
Okay.
I definitely will.
Okay.
So it should be one of my projects in 2025.
What is it going to be called? I know I'm pushing you, but I want answers now. We're building that system now.
So I haven't gotten the revelation for the name yet. Okay. I haven't gotten the perfect name, but I want a name that would definitely speak about what it is, even just by listening, hearing the name.
Got it.
You know,
Got it. I love it. What are the vulnerabilities that you have as a man that you think society does not permit?
Society doesn't really allow you to be yourself. Yeah. So men are expected to man up, to be mature, to be bold, not to cry, to take responsibilities alone, not ask for help. Mm. It is so wrong. It's so bad. And it's something that our culture doesn't allow it. Our society doesn't allow it, you know, but men are dying in silence, you know, and I do have a couple of boys out session every now and then with a few men, even in the Blueprint of Power. We always have this side thing. Yeah.
I know you guys did it last week.
Yes, we did it. Yes. And it would just blow your mind, the things that we're talking about. Aww. You know, it's really impactful for all of us. So I think it's something that we should really, really take very, very serious.
Got it. When we say society doesn't allow men to be themselves, you currently not only live in Nigeria, but also in the UK. What is the different nuances that you would say for the UK and for Nigeria? Or for a third world country and a first world country? Yeah.
The first world country, they have they have left us. No, they've left us because some of the things we take seriously. Yeah. Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
As simple as carrying your wife or your lady's bag and walking down the street is nothing.
Just a way of life.
You know, but here in Africa, you know, you would think you'd be perceived like woman rapper or some kind of like the woman is controlling you and all that. So it's sad. So the Western countries they've really come to the level where they've advanced to that level where the relationship, the responsibilities, everything is shared. Yeah. Is a back and forth thing. But Africans, we really have to correct that mindset. A few of us are there. We'll have to do a lot more work to make sure that we'll get there.
So there are a lot of divorces happening in the UK from people who came from Nigeria, so to speak. I mean, maybe African countries, but because there's a lot of migration from Nigeria to the UK, then it's like, oh, when people get to the UK, they're now doing this or they're now doing that. My take on it is that environment opens up the wrongs or the
real you.
Exactly. The broken foundation that maybe a marriage had prior because of the fact that where they're coming from coming from Nigeria is not seen as something important. So things that are important as part of a partnership between two people is being overlooked in Nigeria. So when you go to another environment, it then opens up the weaknesses of different people because that environment needs you to run a partnership as opposed to one person doing more than the other or too much. What is your take on it?
We're in the UK now to understand how this thing happens, and we see families that are impacted based on this. Yeah. So I think it's, like you said, is something that has been in the foundation that just gets to a part where it's just exposed. Yeah. It is like showing the real you when you get the opportunity to express yourself. And it's not biased to any gender. It could be the male, it could be the female.
I agree.
that could be at fault or that has been managing that situation back in Nigeria. And guess what? The idea that divorce is also not very well looked after, divorce is always found at in Africa, makes it easier for people to condone and manage something that their core being and their core self wasn't designed to manage. When you now get to a society that gives you the opportunity to really, really express yourself and work, if this is not working, everybody gets to take it.
Yeah.
It's really not about the responsibility. It's not even about money, because it's not about money. It's like, those things that would have been there, that would have made bonding strong, but it wasn't there, and we are managing and patching and going until we get to a society that now tells you it is this or this. And people get to choose.
It's not even just about telling you it is this or this, but then the different systems and structures that are placed and the lifestyle and the everyday lives preaches the fullest expression of yourself.
Yes.
And from back home here, because we're currently in Nigeria, so we literally, and we've seen it again. It's so crazy because you are living and you wonder, how did I manage to live here all my life?
Like, how?
Crazy. So that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, I used to be an anti-jackpot person. Like, I'm just like, no, we can make Nigeria work. No, don't ever. Everybody that I said that to, I apologize. I didn't know what I was saying. I knew nothing. So me then going and, going in the way that I went and realizing that, oh my God,
there's more.
There is so much more to life. Yeah. We are so tattooed in that entire concept of the pillars of what an African or a Nigerian should be, do, have. And then you step out of the shores of it for just and then you're wondering like, and then there are also other people who are just so caged in it. So you see people who are living outside of Nigeria, but they're still living like Nigerians, not in a good, because it's amazing being Nigeria, but your way of life, your lifestyle, your conditioning, everything is still programmed by what you got back home. But it's the things you got back home is from a place of circumstances. It doesn't make it the true way of living.
Exactly.
It's
and it, to add to that, it's the level of the conditioning from back home that determines what they'll be doing when they are no longer in that space.
Exactly.
At times it's really, really hard. Something you've been experiencing over a period of time. It's really hard to let go.
Disengage.
Of that belief system.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So, what does the love of a good woman look and feel like for you, and why is that?
So for me, the love of a good woman is someone that understands the real you, someone that understands you, someone that helps in the making of a man. Because I believe that a man that is really, really hardworking, so whatever you can still be expressing yourself, even till you're senior. So a good woman is one that really stands by the man, understands the man, and takes some of his proclivities, understands his proclivities and natural tendencies, right?
Yeah.
And able to manage him, because nobody is perfect. And I know men can be a handful, but if there's a woman that can understand you in a good way, and as long as the man is acting right and is able to work with him, that's the kind of woman that every man is actually looking at.
Really? Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. So what I hear you say is understanding, and I feel like that's also a question from an answer from your heart, because what we've been told is respect as women.
Yes.
There is. I've hardly heard understanding. I've always heard respect him. Tell me the difference as a man. Help me understand the difference as a man. Help me understand, if you were to choose one over the other, which would it be?
I would choose understanding anytime, any day. Because for me, if you understand someone, you respect them.
Yeah.
Like if you understand that this is who they are, this is their proclivities. Like it's not that bad, but that's just you know, how the person is wired.
Yeah.
You definitely respect the person.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. That is good. I like that. I like that. What's the one thing that would make you feel like you have failed if you did not pass on to your children before you end your journey in life?
I would say the ability to really, really care for other people. And I think my kids are actually catching on to that. Maybe because they're kids yet. When they are teens, when they are older, it's a different story. But the ability to care for people and to be able to take care of people as much as you can. Like I said earlier, I mean, I was wired like that and I've come to accept it and it's working for me. It's fulfilling for me to be able to help out any way I can, whether there is money involved or not. It's just the impact that I am comfortable with. So I definitely need to make sure that my kids should be able to help, should be able to be there for people.
I have a counter question regarding that. And it is, my perception is that what you've done all your life is take care of other people. And I'm a bit worried that you're passing that to your children when you did not take care of your own self as much.
Yeah.
Would you want the same for your children?
I wouldn't really want them to live their lives for other people. Definitely not. But I want them to just be there for other people, but not to live their life. So just like I couldn't find a balance, I'm still struggling with. Hopefully, I should find it somewhere in the near future. But they should be able to find a balance on time to be able to live their lives to the fullest of their expressions while also being there to help others.
Got it. Thank you. You keep saying something like, if I get the chance to, when I get the chance to, like, you know that you still have like 20 years or maybe 70 years to come. I love it. I love the faith. I love the faith. But I'm going to tell you what happened to me very recently. I was going through a season of pain, a season of sadness. And it's in retrospect that I realized that something that happened to me in between that season was a shift to a different identity of who I became. In the midst of that season, I was certain I was about to die. I was very certain that I was about to die. So much that I sent a message to a friend of mine to say, if I die, I want you guys to know I'm in a great place. I've come to realize that the grief is on the people that are left behind, but the person who goes is in a fantastic place. I've I've researched it, I've come to that understanding, I've come to the knowledge and understanding of it. And there was a particular night that I felt like, and then that friend was going to call the police. And I'm like, wait, because immediately I said that and we're talking, I think I had to go do something. And so they didn't hear me respond. So they're like about to call the police. And I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. I love my life too much to kill myself. It's that I just really feel like death is around the corner for me. And if anything happens, I want you guys to know that I'm fantastic. Don't be too hard on yourself. And then when I woke up the next morning, I'm like, oh, I woke up. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I guess there's still much for me to do and all of that.
Yeah.
I was supposed to go to the clinic that morning just for like a casual checkup because I always do like a random full body checkup every time. And this was in the UK. And for some reason, my doctor cancelled, which is very rare. They never cancel. Because it's the UK, there's system and structure. It's not just anything. And I remember that I didn't have any plans for the day outside of going to the clinic. And then I thought to myself, like, if I hadn't made it this morning alive, what were the things I would have regretted not doing? And I sat down and I wrote 7 things. One thing was that I would have regretted not going to see my sister because she lives in another city in the UK. And then and there, I carried my bags and I went to see her. It's like a 4 hours journey by train and all of that. So I say this to say that I keep hearing you say like, maybe I'll find time for it. Maybe sometime in the future. And I'm like, no, it's not making sense to me. I almost died a couple of months ago. Or I thought I almost died a couple of months ago. So like, I don't know. For me, I just feel like I've given myself the permission to fully live in mistakes, in successes, in all that life has to give to me and live for myself first. So when you say that I'll teach my children to care for others, I'm worried. I honestly am, because that's something even you are still struggling with. And my question to you is, don't you think that that was what was passed on to you, that you're also passing on to them, when you know it's not the absolute 100% thing?
Yeah, so in addition to that, teaching them how to take care of others, right? I would also want them to understand themselves and express themselves very well.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want them to be so self-focused
Mm-hmm.
that they lose awareness of
Every other
every
thing.
other person or
Got
any
it.
other person that might need help around them.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want them to go into missionaries or go into volunteering projects. No, they should live their lives, but any opportunity that comes their way, they should grab it with two hands, knowing that whatever little you're doing is impacting someone positively.
Got it.
You know, so that's how I see it. And for me as well, I've come to live every day like it could be the last.
Yeah.
You know, and where I am, apart from the adventures I would want to experience and the regret I've had and I still have of not documenting my father-in-law story, which I've now been able to document my own dad's story and my mom's story and a whole lot of other people close to me as well. I'm trying to live every day as if this is it, then this is it. You know, you would know that you've tried. You've done something that others can build on. You know, you built something. And also for me, most of the things I build on, most of the things I work on are things I feel somebody can continue with and run with. It's not just a
new thing.
It's not anything.
I like
It's not
that.
a hype. It's not a thing of the moment. It's not a trending thing. It's something that somebody can, continue the legacy on.
Got it. So speaking of legacy, what are like the 3 things that your children don't currently know about you that you would like them to know? Because if you're not making a documentation of yourself, maybe this is the only documentation your children will get to see now. I'm helping Nnanna's children here. Since your daddy wouldn't make a documentation of his own self.
So for my kids, I would say I would want them to really, really find deep connections in friendships and relationships. That really matters a lot in different genders, right? You should find deep connections and hold them strong because they will get to need that in every phase of their life. That's one thing I'll definitely let them know. And I'll definitely tell them to take life easy. There's nothing we're fighting about.
Honestly.
There's nothing we are struggling and hustling. And this is also me, right? But I need to get them to understand that you should try and take life easy. If something wants to break, let it break.
Yeah.
At times I tell them in the house, like maybe they will drop something or they want to start crying, like they know that they're going to get stuck. I'm like, hey, wait. First of all, this is UK. You can't be flogged.
Such the freedom that comes with the fact that this is not the culture that allows for you to be flogged. So chill out.
And then even if we're in Nigeria, right? This is me. I'm quick to move on from something that's gone bad to just the next thing. Yeah. Instead of wasting time, brooding over it, regretting, pain, and all that. So those are the 2 things I would definitely want my kids to grow up with.
Got it. So taking life easy and having deep friendships, connection in friendship, in whatever relationship context you find yourself.
Exactly.
It's amazing. I like the answer. What is Nnanna like in the highest form of love for him in the context of romantic relationship?
For me, love conquers all things. Love bears all things. So when I'm truly in love, I even forgive the trespasses that are in the future. Like I have that kind of heart, I have that kind of allowance. And people around me know that I don't really fuss over anything seriously. And I give people allowance to fail, knowing that this is you. In my mind, I'm always like, but this is this person. What else do you expect? And I move on. So I'm not overly surprised and disappointed. So I just take it. So when I'm in love, it is the best space that I expect to accept the person just for who
For
they
who they
are.
are. I like that you said, when I'm in love, I give them permission to fail. That is beautiful. I don't think that people know that, or people, I should speak for myself actually, and not people. I think for me, I do, but not at the detriment of my own self. So my follow-up question is, how do you balance? Because, okay, so you are designed with a large capacity within you. So that might maybe be the shock absorber for you.
Yeah.
But maybe for some other people, in the case where they feel, especially women, and I'll speak from the place of a woman, because women, especially from the African culture, are designed to self-sacrifice in the name of love. What is the balance where you are loving someone in the midst of their proclivities that is not a detriment to your own self?
So it's a lot easier when you're loving someone and their proclivities and natural tendencies are things you can manage. So there's a limit as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a timeline, there's a frame that you can operate in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good for each person to understand space where they can operate.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger your heart is, like people like me, the wider that frame, you know? Yeah, but definitely there are places and spaces where it's a no-no, you know? There's some things that people can do, especially when you're becoming violent, when you're becoming harmful, and, you know, with intent to kill and all of that. So it's not a good space to be in a relationship at all.
Awesome. Awesome. What do you wish women could understand about men, from a logical place, from a mental place, from a physical place, from an emotional place?
For emotional place, I would just want that women will understand that men also have emotions just like them. We hear them. But at times, because the way we're wired, because of how we're wired, because of a lot of things we're thinking about at the same time, we act like we don't hear, we don't listen. At times, we just don't want the story. We want the end point, we want the punchline, and get that problem fixed. And it's a problem for women because the fun is in the story.
Yeah.
You know, if one tells you the entire story of how the day went,
she's having a fun time.
you know, and the man would just want to
get to the point.
You know, so we can move to the next. You know, so we have to try on that, right? Because that's how both genders are wired. So definitely it's something that men need to
also work on.
So it's not like we don't hear. We also hear. And we love respect a lot, right? If you understand men and respect them, even if they're erring, communicating whatever you want with respect goes a long way than backbiting, shouting, nagging, and the rest of them. So these are some of the things men would like. And the physical, we like food. Good food. Oh yes, really good food. Okay. And then the physical appearance of the opposite gender of a woman as well is also very important to men. Because a man needs to be proud of who they are. It shows off. Yeah, they're going who the partners who are presenting to the world exactly. Yeah. You know.
That's interesting. So women that always like, oh, you accept me for who I am. Do your work too. Okay. If you're going to describe your human experience, because again, the human experience, if you're going to describe your human experience from birth up until now, what story or context or summary would you describe it in? And if you get a chance to be human again, would you take it?
Absolutely. If I get a chance to be Nigerian again,
yes, please.
I'll take it for the culture. I'll take it for the culture. I'll take it for the people. I'll take it for love. You know, I'll take it for legacy. I'll take it for friendship. Yeah. You know, so those are the things I know definitely I'll take.
Got it.
If I get back here again. So the core of my life, my human experience is more about adventure and impact. Have adventure, live your full life, and make impact. That's the best experience.
I love it. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed this.
Thank you.